What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to show you how to replace the front sway bar bushings, inner and outer, on your 2001 to 2004 Dodge Dakota. Should be the same steps for the 97 to 2000s, but I'm not 100%. It will be the same for the 01 to 04, however. Also not sure, but it's worth checking if you have a Durango, since they share the same platform. They may be the same steps on the Durangos as well, so if you would like to check that and follow along, do so. All right, so we're under the truck here. This is a four-wheel drive. As you can see, there's two bolts holding the end cap on. Those are 13 millimeter. We'll remove those two, as well as the two on this side. If this does not swing down, you can get a pry bar below below the A-arm and above this, and pry it down. These I've actually replaced because I could get the outers, but I couldn't get the inners at the time. But if you have your old ones, they should be completely worn out and they'll slide right off. If your sway bar is worn too much here, like if it's way skinnier here than here, excuse me, you might have to replace the sway bar. I'm not going to, it's not that worn. But to get the new ones on, you see there's a little bit of rust ridge built up here. You might want to sand that down, or put a little grease on this to lube it up and slide it on. But we're going to go ahead, just for demonstrational purposes, and remove both for the video. Now we need to remove this clamp and this one. That's all that's holding it in now. The bolts on the bottom here and over there should be a 15 millimeter, and then if you look up through this hole, you might be able to see a nut in there. That's a 21 millimeter. I'm going to use an impact with an extension on that. It comes around the back side above this. So you can see this flag nut is what holds it for you, so you don't need a wrench. Now we're ready to take that 21 millimeter off. Repeat the same steps on the other side. As you can see, these bolts appear to be tack welded into place, so you don't need a wrench for those either. Either that or mine are just really rusted in place. But now we're gonna go ahead and push down on these metal pieces to get them off of the rubbers, and we're gonna reinstall the rubber bushing with new ones. All right, so if you can't get these off by hand, you can use a hammer. That should help. Kind of keeping track of how these come off and how it goes back in. As you can see, the sway bar bends towards the back of the truck, and the stud obviously has to be on the top, so I'm setting these exactly how they will go back in the truck. Now you can see there should be a split somewhere on these, or you know what, actually it looks like these ones slide off just like the other ones. So using some grease to install the new ones might not be a bad idea, because they're probably going to be tighter than these, and they're even kind of a pain to get off. All right, here's the new ones for my particular vehicle with the part number there. I'll post a link in the description for these and the outers. I'm using Moog. It's a nice in-between. It's a little more expensive but higher quality than your cheapo bottom line like Master Pro and stuff like that, but it's still you know, pretty good quality and cheaper than OEM. So I'm going to use those. I like to use anything like that for steering and suspension and chassis. As you can see, another reason to love Moog, they actually have these ones split, so they'll be easier to slide on. Just go like this. A lot easier. And I just kind of rotate it back and forth so that it's not going to close perfectly until it gets clamped into place, but just to kind of help it out. A lot easier than trying to force it on all the way down. So now if you want, you can also install your outers. Okay, I know I said earlier grease, but I actually try to avoid using grease on any rubber stuff like this, just because you don't know what it's made out of. If it's silicone, it should be okay, but some rubbers swell up and expand when they get in contact with grease or lubricants. So I would actually use like soapy water if you need help sliding these on. Pay attention, because on these ones, which are also Moog, I'll post those in the description like I said, it says install this side first, so make sure that you're putting them on properly. So when they say first, I assume they mean from the end. As you can see, they're not the tightest fit. Like I said, my sway bar is a little worn out, but I'm not going to do anything with that. I don't feel like buying a new sway bar. This will help quite a bit in itself, just because the factory ones were junk. So now we can go ahead and pop this into place. So we want the sway bar positioned like this, as if it's laying flat, facing towards the back. We'll rotate the flats towards the front of the truck, and you want to kind of get them lined up with where the old wear marks were. So you have it as close as possible to center right off the bat. And you'll slide these grooves, or those ribs, into these grooves. Use a hammer again if you have to. It's pretty easy though. And now we'll reinstall this onto the truck. Hold it in place and start the nuts. All right, now once you tighten those up, these holes might not line up perfectly, so you might have to give it a good swing with the hammer to get it into place. There you go. Everything's pretty well centered. Gonna go ahead, reinstall our flag nut and bolt. All right, now you'll want to position your sway bar bushings so that it fits the curvature of the bottom of the A-arm here, as well as these caps. So you'll want to slide them in and out accordingly. And then it can be a pain in the butt to get these back up into place. As you can see, it's not wanting to go, so you may have to use a pry bar under this and above the A-arm to force it into place, or you can do like I do and just kind of roll it into position. It does take a bit of force. And now I can start the cap. Again, 13 millimeter for the bolts. Now the caps don't seem to have any wording other than the part number. They don't look directional, no arrows or anything. So I just reinstall the caps, and then I'm gonna zip them down. Don't overdo it if you're using power tools like this. They just have to be snug once this cap bottoms out, and you can feel the bolt bottom out by hand. I just give it just a little bit more. You don't want to snap these off because they thread into the A-arm. That's plenty, and same on the other side. All right, and we are done. If this video helped you out, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe for more videos like this, and check me out on Facebook at Tony the Truck Guy. Thanks for watching.